Hello and welcome to another episode of the Classical Republican. Today, in this episode, we will be having a special combination of politics, art, and history as we talk about the ideological underpinnings of Venetian house architecture. Okay, so let's give you some background here on Venice. Of course, Venice starts out in a lagoon. It expands, it expands on land and on coastlines. Um, Here, as you see, Istria and Dalmatia, these places are absorbed by the Venetian Republic because there are pirates there, and Venice relies on the Adriatic Sea for as a lifeline to the world, because all they really have in Venice is salt and fish. So they have to rely on trade, and it's maritime trade. So in order to make sure that they have that vital link to the rest of the world, to all the things that they need, other than salt and fish, they need to have safety. And so they end up taking over some of the coastline, a lot of the coastline of the Adriatic. It goes eventually goes down here into modern day Albania and into these Greek islands here in the Ionian Sea. And off and on, they rule different parts of Greece, Euboea, Peloponnese, um, areas around Constantinople, various islands in the Adriatic, Crete, and Cyprus. They also rule ports for a time, very short time though, in the Crimean Peninsula, in the Black Sea, and the Levant during the Crusades, during the Crusader states. So that's really something remarkable about Venice is that they have this maritime empire, and that is called the Stato di Mar. And then but also they slowly but surely conquer parts of the Italian mainland, and they call that the terra firma. Okay, now during the Italian Wars, um, Venice, the Venetian holdings on the terra firma uh, are under attack. And here I have in the title Venezia. That's basically the island. And then you have the Veneto. And the Veneto is also the modern day province, with Italian province, in northern Italy, that Venice is like the capital of, but it doesn't directly correspond to the old Veneto. But the word still comes from this time, when they're talking about the terra firma, and the Veneto. So let's talk about house architecture. Here's the typical floor plans of homes on the island of Venice, in the Venezia. And you'll see, let me move myself over here. You'll see that they have this rule of thirds. So you see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and even a lot of times 3 stories. But today you see a lot, 4, 5, 6 stories. But 3 is still very common in Venice on the island. Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of out of necessity, and we'll see some other features that are unique to Venezia that are that you don't really see anywhere else. This is Ca d'Oro, or the House of Gold. It's built in 1430 for the Contarini family, a very great family, gave many, many doges to the Republic. And this family served the Republic for generations. And so you can see here, out here is the Grand Canal. And you have three, one, two, three. You can see an entrance right here to the Grand Canal. Let me show you a picture which I took. Oops. It's very difficult to see. I had to go out on a pier for gondolas and take this picture. So it's very difficult to see this house unless you're across the Grand Canal looking at it. Because right here you have, on the right, you have an open space, and that is the Campo di Santa Sofia. And yeah, there's a big, well, it's just a big open area. But yeah, this is very beautiful, and you can't really see it unless you're on the Grand Canal or across the Grand Canal. So this is very typical. You see, you have but it's very ornate, of course. The Contarini family was very well to do. A lot of times, if you were in public service, you didn't make a lot of money, but then you had either you had family members who oftentimes lived in the same household who were involved in trade, and they made a lot of money, so they helped to take care of you. And this is a cistern, a well, but it's really it's a well. They get the water from down below, but really it's more like a cistern because it's how they collect rainwater, and you have to be careful not to mix rainwater with the brackish water of the lagoon. And this house is right on the Grand Canal. Very brackish water. Not drinkable, not potable. Okay, let's go on to another house built centuries later, Ideological. Now, this was built for a new family in 1756 because it's a new family, kind of like how Cicero was a new man, and this family was not was not previously involved in politics. They were not given that opportunity until a time came when they had to prove themselves to the Republic, and they were given access to politics like all the other political families. And this was actually two buildings put together. They're both, I guess, dilapidated, and the Rezonco family wanted them together, or bought them together and wanted to turn them into one residence. So you can see here, especially in this one, the 1, 2, 3, the rule of thirds right there. This is the ballroom. I believe that's on the bottom floor. Yeah, this is really beautiful and very decked out. So it's very late Baroque, really more Rococo, which is very similar to Baroque. Here's where they get their water. And this is from the inside court. You see it's 3 stories. And this is how they lived. Here's a bed and a little I don't know, just a little side room there. Here's the main hall, and so you would go to into this main hall, and there were rooms on the other sides. And here's some portraits of we have a doge on the left and a senator on the right, and these are people who served the Republic. Today, it is a museum. The Ca d'Oro is a museum, and they have lots of wonderful art there. On the right is a Canaletto. Love Canaletto, one of my favorite artists. Many more wonderful pieces of art. There's a sculpture on the left, that's actual stone, made to look like it's got a veil over it that you can see through. And on the right is a chandelier, or no, it's a candelabra. But yeah, wonderful Burano blown glass from the island of Burano in the lagoon. This is Palazzo Pisani Gritti. Yeah, so it's from the Pisani family, but Gritti, Doge Gritti, lived in it. Remember, Gritti had spent most of his life in Constantinople until the Italian Wars, and then everything was taken away from him. And so he was, yeah, he wasn't really involved in politics for quite a while, and then came back to Venice after he lost everything, and was got really involved, and eventually made it to Doge. But he was, didn't really have much of a base, um, really a financial base. So he got help from people. So remember the Pisani family. I couldn't find a floor plan for this, but I wanted to show this because there were some people who had 1 foot on land and 1 foot on sea. And we'll see that in a minute. The Pisani family was one of those. Let's look at these features. Here's some other homes. This is 4 stories. This might have been a later addition. You can see the entrances built for gondolas to come to arrive and depart. Yeah, so well, this one has very big doors right here, but usually you don't see humongous doors like you see on palazzos in Florence and Rome. Very big palazzos, and those were so big because you had families who had to live in these compounds, and they had servants. And in Italy, you had a lot of extended family. So that the big difference between a place like the Venetian Republic and the Republic, the Dutch Republic, is really their family structure. And so, there's a lot of differences because of that. And one reason is you have the differences because you have the Catholic Italy, and you have Protestant Netherlands. Yeah, so Protestants were more nuclear family, and Catholics were more extended family in a household, and you saw that definitely in Venice. Venice had large houses, but you see it all over Italy. You see these large houses with much larger than what we're looking at here in cities, and they were so huge. They even had these courtyards, and you had to be able to come into the courtyard with be able to come mounted on a horse, and so the doors are much larger on the mainland. Now things start to change here during the Italian Wars. The Venetians start to have an honest conversation about who they are. What is the nature of their republic? Are they a maritime republic, or are they a landed republic? That is a question. What is the best form of republic? Going all the way back to Plato and Aristotle. And I'm not going to answer it here. The Venetians perhaps never really answered it either. They tried to. And one way they tried to was in their architecture too. So Palladio lived from 1508 to 1580, and the great details, overarching themes were symmetry and proportion. So you look here, some of these do have the rule of thirds, but the overarching theme is symmetry. Okay, take a look at these floor plans. Okay, very even, very good proportion, symmetrical. All right, this is uh, the Pisani family's villa out on the terra firma. Now you see here they have this big canal coming by their house, and that's how they actually got there. A lot of these villas, these Venetian Palladian villas, were on canals or rivers, because during the hot summertime in the lagoon, with a lot of mosquitoes, people would want to leave and go into the terra firma to get away from all that. You know, maybe be in the shade of a forest or something like that. This is Villa Emo from 1559. Look at that symmetry. And you also see here they have a room of Hercules, a very Republican symbol at the time. So let's talk about some of the issues here. You've got so one side will value naval power, maritime power, and you're going to have a type of person that you're going to need, and that's rowers. If you're going to be on land in northern Italy during the early 1500s, you're going to have to keep that land, and that's gonna be very difficult. So you're going to need an army, and what that meant for Venice at this time was mercenaries, because hardly anybody. Florence for a time during their Republican years, had a citizen army, but really nobody had a citizen army at this time. It was all mercenaries. So there's issues with that. Um, Foreign policy, relations with the East, meaning the Ottoman Empire. Yeah, so if you want trade to be coming through the the Bosporus, from the Black Sea, from the Levant, from Alexandria in Egypt, you're going to want to be on good terms with the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. If you're going to want to hold land in northern Italy, then you're going to want to be on good terms with rulers in the West. So places like the Holy Roman Empire, France, and the Papal States, of course. And if you're going to argue for one of these, you're going to make an argument that brings up ancient history and the ancient republics. And so there's two examples. You have Athens, which was a maritime had a maritime empire, the Delian League, and then the Athenian Empire. And so they had commerce and trade, and then you have the other example of Sparta, and I have the Spartan. Well, I was looking for a Spartan phalanx. This is what I found. And so but we have to remember that this isn't just Sparta as we know it today. This is the Renaissance, and we're thinking of the Renaissance ideal of Sparta. And the ideal there, which is very attractive to people at this time, is a republic that is well ordered. Okay, Athens didn't last very long as a democracy, but Sparta was sovereign and able to oppose any domination for centuries. And so, the Venetians really looked to Sparta as a good example. All right. So these are the things that need to be remembered when we're thinking about the history of Venice and how you have, we could think of them as being very, um, all of one mind, but they weren't. They had, they were a very, um, they were very contentious in their councils and able to oppose each other, peacefully. So until next time, long live the Republic.